And so we're going to be looking at the northern extent of this storm. As we move in, there's a storm approaching Hot Springs, but this is the one that we're looking at, and the possibility right there to the west of Bigelow, the possibility of some weak rotation along that line. Let me just show you what I'm talking about, and we'll go to the rotation product with this. And there it is. It looked a little more pronounced earlier near Houston, right there. There's a little kink along this line. And I think we were anticipating that if any tornado warning was issued, at least with this line, that it would be one of those along this line, and it might be just very, very short-lived. And we'll hope that that is the case. But if you're in the Bigelow area right now, small community of Houston, out to the east of Perryville, this storm does look like it has the potential to produce a small tornado as it moves off to the east. And then on down the road, I think we're going to be looking at moving in over to the north of Mayflower. Let's go to our storm scan if we can. And right there, we're looking at it. And there you can see Conway is within the tornado warning. So you're probably hearing tornado sirens go off, Mayflower up to Conway. And that is because it's still on the other side of the river, but you are in the warned area. Let's move in on this, and we'll see the probability of some rotation along with it. I think it looked a little bit better on the last scan, but there is some probability of rotation there between Houston and Bigelow. If you're in this area, just go ahead and take cover in your home right along State Road. That's State Road 60, I believe, right there, as it moves over toward Toadsuck Lock and Dam. And we're going to go back to the velocity product, which does show that little kink in it right there. The National Weather Service has looked at that, and you can see that little indentation near the Houston community. And those are things that we look at along an otherwise solid line. Now, there's certainly wind potential with this storm, but the tornado warning runs until 11 o'clock. We'll see if that actually happens. That's still 18 minutes away. National Weather Service, we always monitor what they say about these storms as well. And I do want to back out and show you, kind of give you perspective of where all this is. It's a line of storms, and generally this line is going to be translating well off to the north. We're looking at another line later in the overnight hours, and that, I think, has a tornado potential, possibly even a better tornado potential briefly, but it's going to be a wind producer as well. But that's the tornado warned area from Perry County over into Faulkner County. We're also looking at the storm that approaches the Hot Springs area, and I don't see any obvious signs of rotation along that, but there is around like places like Mountain Pine, there is a hail threat along with that. So let's look inside this, and you can see, the hail threat, pretty prolific from west of Jessieville out to west of Mountain Valley, Mountain Pine, on down. Pockets within there that I think we could see up to an inch in diameter hail, which is severe in size. We've had some tonight briefly that may have gotten up to that, but most of it has been much smaller than that. That has been generally our threat. What we're looking at tonight, though, the hail core is off to the north. That's to southeast of Morrilton. And that's what we're looking at with that storm. But the rotation part of it, that's on down to the south. Doesn't look like quite as much as it was. I'm going to be monitoring the National Weather Service and what they're saying about this storm. And we're going to go back to the other computer on this, but they'll have they'll be looking at this storm very, very carefully. And if it doesn't exhibit rotation anymore as it moves toward Conway, Mayflower, and generally right in between. But if you're in Bigelow right now, go to the lowest floor of your home, go to the most interior part of your home. Get as many walls between you and the outside as you possibly can, because this is a tornado warned area, and it doesn't have to be a big tornado to cause a lot of damage in a small area. It'll be moving out kind of the southwest of Conway, near the airport there, maybe just south of that, and across the Arkansas River. We're looking from the National Weather Service in Little Rock. They have issued that tornado warning, and they haven't commented really on it as of yet. So here's the last few frames of this. I'm going to go back to the velocity mode. And on velocity, you'll see that a little bit earlier, I think it looked stronger. And there it is right there. Around the Perryville area, you can see this little turn. The wind's kind of coming around a circulation center right there. That was just a little bit ago. Let's go on over the last few frames. You can still see some weakness in there, trying to pull something around a rotation center. It doesn't look quite like it did. But if you're in this area, let's just go ahead and get into a safe spot. It's better safe than sorry with these storms like this. And that last one really doesn't look like a whole lot right now, but it is a tornado warned area. We're going to continue to watch for you folks as this exits Perry County and moves into Faulkner County and on up. It's moving in kind of an east-northeast direction. I'll get the speed of movement on that, but I think it's going to be around 45 miles per hour, given what we've seen. Tornado warning. Yeah, it was just only radar indicated, so nobody saw this. Of course, dark at night and out in a largely rural area, but some small communities there moving east at around 50 miles per hour. And we continue to watch that storm. He'll put it back into reflectivity mode, and that's just rain. That's some heavy rainfall and boat out structures like that. They're to the southwest of Perryville right now, and another one approaching Jessieville. Those are the kind of things that we're watching, but we're watching for rotation within those. And as I look at that line down into Garland County, strong storm, absolutely. Hail, certainly a possibility. I don't see any obvious signs of rotation along with that. That's good news, although it is a very strong storm. And so we're looking at the one up into Perry County, now moving into Faulkner County. And so this is going to be jumping over the Arkansas River very soon. You folks in Conway, especially out on the west side of town, southwest side of town, you're going to see this line moving in. It is tornado warned. You're hearing the sirens go off, and I know that's kind of a scary thing, but just leave it right here. We're going to analyze this. You're not going to be surprised by this. We have plenty of lead time on it, and we're going to hope that this is not, as it sort of appears right now, rotating even like it was. And it wasn't rotating all that much, but it had the potential. And right now, I'm not seeing that. But I do see some little pockets of wind. Those brighter colors right there, Bigelow and on up, there could be some very strong gusts of wind approaching maybe that 55, 60 mile per hour criteria, for which would be severe weather criteria. Now we have issued another, this National Weather Service, another severe thunderstorm warning for this storm, which is now out to the east of Morrilton and will be moving up into Greenbrier. So Conway County into the northern part of Faulkner County. That is a severe thunderstorm warning, not a tornado warning. So all of these, at least briefly, have pulsed up a little bit as they're moving into this area. I think we're going to have to watch these for another hour or so, perhaps. And then our focus will shift into southwest Arkansas. Let's go back, if we can, to our Max 2, number 2 computer. And I'll give you just a little more of an overview of what's happening there. You can see the tail end of that line is down just to the south of Hot Springs, but the north end of it is certainly stronger, including that tornado warning that is now still in effect for Bigelow and moving over into Faulkner County very soon. I'll put a track on this, and we'll put a little squall line track on it, moving off to the east at about 50 miles per hour. And just some very small communities, Lolly, Hamlet, Valonia would be down the road with this storm. I didn't draw it quite big enough there to get Conway in it, but it's only going to be a matter of minutes, about 10 minutes or so. It'll be into the Conway area. And so that's what we have right now with that storm. I'll continue to monitor what the National Weather Service is saying about this, but if they're looking at kind of the insides of this storm, I know they are, they just haven't commented really on it, and they're just saying that there's a potential now. Potential for tornado within the storm. And this one, on up to the north, is going to be another one that we're looking at. Let's go back to our storm scan computer if we can. And this gives kind of a better indication of the rotation inside. Our storm scan computer will show the tornado warned storm and then the one up to the north of it. And if we can go to that, those are the 3 warnings right now. The one is coming into Hot Springs right now in the Mountain Pounda area. Yeah.
I was just going to say, I think the Weather Service may have issued this severe thunderstorm warning as a replacement for the tornado warning. Tornado warning remains in effect, but they may opt to let this expire because it looks like a whole lot of wind that's headed into Faulkner County right now.
Yeah, I agree on that. It doesn't look like there's an obvious rotation there. So, yeah, meteorologist James Bryant joining me now. That whole bowed out area there, I think that is the greater concern, all the way from west of Menifee out to the west of Conway. James, there did look like a little rotation there briefly, but I don't think it looked like it at the last couple of checks that I saw.
No, it had a nice little scan going in Perry County, but since it is kind of straightened out to where it just looks like it is straight line winds, I'm actually in Conway right now, and I can pull up a live feed of what I'm looking at to my west. As you can imagine, just a lot of lightning and a lot of wind. And I expect the wind to pick up here in Conway pretty shortly. But as of right now, I don't expect them to continue this tornado warning past 11, which is when this will expire for Conway and the north side of Mayflower Lake, Conway, Lawley, all those communities.
Yeah, they have shrunk it down some. This area has been shrunk down some, kind of taking Bigelow out of it right now. Moving over into Faulkner County, Conway, the Lake Conway communities there to the north of Mayflower along I-40. And it just looks like a line right now. No little indentations within it. And that's good news, but the bad news is, as James said, there is wind with this, and it is going to be strong as it moves through. And I think this line and the one coming overnight that will be a little farther down to the south, Little Rock and southward, I think wind energy is going to be quite strong with this, only because, James, there's just so much energy up above. And if any of that can translate down to the ground, then you get really strong storms. In the wintertime, we know that our upper level winds can be quite a bit stronger.
Yeah, and really going up into northern Faulkner County, I'm on Max 1. There is, looks like damaging straight line winds headed for Beaver Fork Lake, Wooster, Greenbrier, Holland, over to Quitman, and then that's eventually going to track up towards Rosebud. So that's a lot of wind. You know, these areas have dew points in the mid 50s, and so it's not impossible to get a tornado, but I would say it would be pretty rare.
That's right. Yeah.
So that is, I mean, the dew points increase a couple of degrees after this line of storms. The line of storms coming out of Hot Springs Village also just went severe warned all the way into West Little Rock.
Yeah.
So the main threat with this line now I think is going to be high winds. And when this tornado warning expires, we can kind of walk everybody through the next round, which is kind of very similar.
Yeah, it's the same thing, but just a little bit farther south. And so the whole area now is a severe thunderstorm warned area. That does not mean that there'll be damaging winds with all of this, but approaching Hot Springs Village on the Garland County side, moving into the Saline County side, you're getting a lot of wind right now, a lot of lightning in the air. And if you look out west from Little Rock, you can see that lightning as well. But yeah, there's plenty of wind all along that area. And it looks like yeah, as you said, up around Wooster and headed toward Greenbrier, that's probably an area that will get strong winds. Conway, certainly some strong winds coming toward that way too. I do want to just touch on what we are expecting perhaps a little bit later on tonight and why there is a tornado watch in effect. And I think maybe we can go to Max 2? If we can. There it is. So we're looking at around midnight tonight, this area kind of moving on up to the north. And then we'll watch this area out of Oklahoma into western Arkansas at 2 a.m., moving into the Little Rock area around 4 a.m., 3:30 to 4 a.m. And within that, I think we're going to see this similar thing with wind and the possibility of isolated tornadoes. There's going to be some instability there that could be a little more surface-based, meaning there's a little more humidity, there's a little more heat at the surface than there happens to be right now. So I don't think it's likely that we'll see a tornado out of this, but I think it is at least possible, and that's why we're going to be here all night long. The whole team will be switching off later on tonight, but we're going to be here. And then by the time 5 o'clock rolls on and then 6, 7 o'clock, that strongest line goes over into eastern Arkansas. So that's what we're looking at right now. If we can go back to Storm Scan, and I think it shows very well the areas that we're looking at, all the way from just having gone through Jesseville, east of Mountain Pine. There is some hail signature with that, but that is a little wind segment right there. And then a little boat out segment east of Perryville. And then that stuff coming into Conway. Looks like to me maybe north of Conway, James, if you're still there, that looks like the strongest one. And I'm kind of concerned about the wind potential there west-southwest of Greenbrier, right here.
Yeah, Barry, I'm looking at radar, and I just stepped outside. I'm looking off towards my west, and there's just a whole lot of wind. I'm looking to see if I can see any power flashes or anything along the leading edge of the line. The wind has picked up pretty substantially, but the air still has a chill to it, which makes me believe that the tornado threat maybe just isn't there quite yet.
Yeah.
Not impossible, though, and it is about to get windy and stormy, and that's threat number one. And we've got tornado sirens just now going off in Conway, I think for the first time. But
okay. Yeah,
yeah,
and now
you might be able to hear 'em.
the tornado warning has been canceled, it appears. Or it just expired. No, it will expire. Yeah, I can hear the warnings sirens there.
Yeah, if you're waking up in the city of Conway, this is a high wind threat. So
yes, not
get away from windows.
Tornado threat not there. I am watching this storm though as it comes into Greenbrier. It looks a little more bowed out, and there is a signature for some rotation there. A little more concerning. I still don't think the tornado threat is high though with it. And if you look at just the line, the velocity, you don't see any little kinks in the line. The wind's going away from the radar side and around a circulation center. But that is bowed out right there for sure. So along from Greenbrier down to Spring Hill, all that way, this is going to be a big wind producer. And it wouldn't shock me to see some possible wind damage along that line, right along the Highway 65 corridor, all the way down into the Conway area. But I'm a little more concerned about that. Here's what it looks like on just the reflectivity scan. So it's going to be pouring rainfall, and there is no tornado warning currently in effect. This is a severe thunderstorm warning, but strong winds can certainly happen with that as well. And then you head down all the way from Conway on down to Mayflower. That is now a severe thunderstorm warning. And then Little Rock actually in a severe thunderstorm warning for a storm that's just barely coming into the far western part of Pulaski County. These storms are moving at about 50 miles per hour. And Hot Springs, you're seeing these storms kind of come into the northern part of town, but the strongest of it is up to the north there. And I think a lot of this activity is lifting off to the north-northeast, James. I don't know if James is still there or not.
Yeah, I'm still with you.
Yeah.
I'm standing out here watching what's rolling in here. I'm telling you, Barry, I think it must be 53 or 54 degrees. So
yeah,
definitely feels like a straight line wind producer, and all of this is, I mean, it is racing off to the east. And I see the wind potential going up into Faulkner County. We can check the power outage numbers here shortly because I think they're going to go up, unfortunately.
Yeah, I agree. I think that is something that we probably need to start checking. But yeah, it's a wind threat in Conway. You're getting it right now into the neighborhoods there on the northwest side of town, on up to the west of Highway 65, coming into Pickles Gap and on up to around Greenbrier. But that's going to be a big area of wind, and it is severe thunderstorm warned. Right now, 2,520 without power in Little Rock, says poweroutage.us. The majority of those in Clark County with 377. And I don't know, it doesn't show exactly where those are, but it looks like, yeah, most are in First Electric Cooperative, but 1,100 are without power there. All right, here's our areas of concern right now from Greenbrier and then east of Perryville. Looks maybe not quite as strong, but that is severe warned as well. And out into the far western part of Saline County and the western part, just the tip of Pulaski County as well. All the way down to the north of Hot Springs. Those storms that are coming into Hot Springs, most on the north side of town. And even though those are severe warned, those are all severe thunderstorm warnings as these are all moving off in. So this is, it's a high wind threat we're going to stick with this for a little while. Right now, we're at the 11 o'clock hour. Just know that if there's a tornado warning, we're going to be on the air. But with these high winds coming into very populated areas, we're going to stick around for a little while also as it comes into Greenbrier. Greenbrier, I'd say go ahead and just get into the interior of your house, coming into town, already into Greenbrier really right now. And as James said, there is a lot of wind along with these.
Yeah, Barry, I'm back inside looking at radar. I just want to make everybody feel a little bit better. You know, after stepping outside and kind of feeling what felt like cold outflow, I feel like the tornado risk is just on the lower side, but it is windy and rainy. And if you have a bedroom up against a westward facing wall where you have a tree or something like that, it might be a good idea to get away from that, just in case a few trees are knocked down and the high winds moving across any part of Faulkner, Perry, Pulaski County. But I think for at least the moment, the tornado threat is on the lower side.
Yeah, I agree. I don't see anything on there that looks like rotation. And only for a few scans did that one storm, which was out in the vicinity of Houston and Bigelow. It looked like it might have had a little bit of rotation along with it. If we can go back to storm scan here, again, by tomorrow morning at 7 to 7:30, that's going to be well off to the east. Even this second round that's coming, this is kind of the first round. And all the modeling showed this kind of lifting off to the north so that even the tail end of this would be going a little bit north of the Little Rock area, maybe just brushing by Pulaski County. That's the first kind of round that we'll see. And then there'll be more developing later on around 2 o'clock in the morning. And then that line will come up through from Little Rock and generally southward. But you can see the boat out features there coming into the northwestern part of Saline County. Perry County now moving off into Conway. That is no longer a tornado warned storm. No rotation that is apparent on our radar. And right along the 65 corridor right there, James said there's a big outflow of cold air out of these. And a lot of times you don't feel that if you have a tornado producing a thunderstorm. So none of the signs point to that. We'll go to Greenbrier again. I'll just tell you though, it's a bowed out area there, and I'll bet you Greenbrier has had some pretty significant wind as it moves off to the east of Highway 65, which is right there. So if you're out in advance of that, let me just tell you, this is going to be a pretty good sized wind producer. James, did you have high wind gusts, or was it just kind of a 30, 35 mile an hour gust when you went through?
Yeah, it wasn't extremely strong.
Yeah.
You know, it barely shook the trees here, and we don't have a whole lot of trees in my neighborhood, so that's from what I could see. Though I do think there will be pockets of high winds along this line. You know, one part about it being cold is it may be difficult for storms to get higher winds down to the ground, at least for the moment. We certainly hope that is the case. If you're just happening to turn on Channel 7, you may notice, if you're in the Conway area or Faulkner County, we still have tornado sirens going off in the city of Conway. There is no immediate tornado threat now to the city. The tornado warning has expired. This is pretty much all a high wind threat along this line, and I think that is going to be the main threat tonight. And I hope we don't see power outages. We're about to go into a really cold period here in the next few days. We focused a lot on the area in Faulkner County, but down into Saline and Pulaski County, there's another area of high winds going to be moving east, and that's going to affect areas north of Benton and Bryant, eventually going to get over to Chenal Mountain, West Little Rock, Ferndale, Roland, and then eventually Palmel and Little Rock.
Yeah, that is an area that really is, certainly there's torrential rain along there. I don't see any signs of obvious rotation. There is some hail along with it, but you're right. This is a broad warning for Saline back into Pulaski County, back into the western part of the city of Little Rock and all the way up to Mayflower. And then that smaller one, the one that was in effect for the southern part of that line, that has gone away. It was kind of replaced by a little bit larger one. But we're just watching this for some pockets of wind. I think James said it very well. Pockets of high wind within an area where just kind of gusty winds. Not everyone will see damaging winds. In fact, I think only a few will. We are looking at some power outages, though. I've seen more than 5,000 right now, and I'm going to back this out, and I'm just going to go over what I'm seeing. talking about Conway County, which is right here. Conway is in Faulkner County, but Conway County now has 793 power outages. So 793 in Conway out of 12,000 customers. Cleburne County, about 1,000 without power out of 20,000 in Cleburne County, rather. And then on down, lesser amounts in Perry County, only 172 without power there. So there are sporadic power outages in the state. Clark County has 383. Hasn't been much in the way of wind that's gone through there. That could have been a lightning strike, perhaps, as well. And we don't know that wind was the cause of the one up in Conway County either. So there's a lot of lightning with these as well. But this is just one solid line. And the worst of it, the area that's kind of bowed out there, those are all severe thunderstorm warnings. No tornado warnings in effect right now as they move on this way. Hopefully they will start to lose some of their identity, and then we're looking at another area that will develop on down here at around the 1:30, 2 o'clock in the morning hour, developing there and then moving out into the state. This will have some stabilizing effect on whatever it touches, including around the southern part of Little Rock all the way up into North Arkansas. So once you get that pounding rainfall, I'm not saying you couldn't have some severe weather later on as far north as, say, Little Rock, but it really will have a stabilizing and cooling effect on the atmosphere. We're primarily concerned with the south half of the state later on tonight. But there'll be another round coming through. I just think the higher severe threat will be on down to the south a little bit. There is one report here. I'm looking around Perryville, and an estimate of a 60-mile-per-hour wind gust from a trained spotter. So right there in Perryville, and that was at 10:32 local time there. So we have had some reports of wind, and that was the area that we first started to see that little, what looked like maybe a little rotation. And what we're seeing was, well, at least there was some wind along with that, and other pockets of wind there. I think this stuff up around Greenbrier, I don't know that it looks quite as bad as it was, but that's still a big wind producer as it moves on through. The storms to the south of there don't look as bad. That area that's kind of receding back to the southwest from Conway, I don't think those storms look as strong as they were. So I'm primarily concerned about this segment in Faulkner County and this segment which runs down into Saline County. It's really north of Hot Springs up to Perrin and on into Perry County and kind of the Highway 10 corridor, Highway 9 out there at Williams Junction, moving off to the east. So if you're in this area, just be aware that there's not a tornado warning. We are monitoring it. There could be pockets of damaging winds along with it, and there could be even some hail. I see a little hail signature there down to the southwest of Perryville. That looks like, to me, it's maybe on the north side of Hot Springs Village, over on the Saline County side of the village there. This is all racing off to the kind of the east-northeast. So a little bit later on, the receding edge of this could make it to the Little Rock area, maybe within an hour or so. Hopefully it won't be as strong by the time it does. Lots of lightning and thunder out there. There are some power outages as well, still holding at 5,166, but they're just kind of scattered out there. This has been reconfigured, this severe thunderstorm warning, from the line of storms then onto the east, and there you can see the latest scan. That just looks like a big wind producer out to the west, far western Pulaski County and the western parts of Saline County, all moving this way. 50-mile-per-hour winds. It won't take it long to make it all the way to Mayflower, and then crossing over I-40, that leading edge right there. Conway, you've had some strong winds. You're going to have a few more strong winds on the south side of town, and then on up into Faulkner County. So that's really what we're looking at, and I don't want to zoom in too tight here because we don't want to ignore everything else going on, but that is certainly the main show with the stronger storms there. And as we take a look at the state as a whole, that's certainly the strongest in the state. Now, up around Fayetteville, there are some strong storms there. Those are quickly rotating off to the northeast. Later on tonight, that's the area that we'll see some snowfall. and that's going to be moving in late tonight into tomorrow morning hours. And there could be a little bit of snow. It could be a quarter of an inch, or it's not going to last very long. It's going to be getting colder there, though, very quickly. And then after we get this line, and then what develops later in coming through, then our severe threat will be over and temperatures will just start to fall. James, you still with us there in Conway?
Yeah. It looks like we've got another report from Perry County. This is at Harris Break at Perry, Arkansas, in Perry County. Multiple trees were blown down.
Okay.
So not sure if that's going to be from a weak tornado or straight line winds. It could have been both in that general area. But and it looks like in Greenbrier, they have power lines down on East Main and Henderson Street. So those are the latest reports from the line segments that just went through Perry and Faulkner counties. On Max 1, I've got the storm track up for the line segment that's about to move through Saline and Pulaski County. It's going to be reaching Chenal Mountain here in about 10 minutes. It's moving at 60 miles per hour, so it's going to cross the entirety of Pulaski and Lonoke counties here within the next hour. It'll be downtown Little Rock at 11:35, reaching Cabot about 10 minutes later, and then well into Lonoke County, or almost through Lonoke County, reaching Carlisle by about 12:07, so about 12:10. This will be on the other side of Lonoke County. So this is another storm that we're concerned with really high winds. As I just look at the velocity features, I don't see anything that screams rotation. Looking up into Faulkner County, there is a lot of high wind moving through that county. And Barry, you've been talking about it, but it is round one. I think there was one storm that might present some rotation. It's just the short term. We probably need to watch what is on the west side of Lake DeGray. It is by itself. It may be a little bit warmer down there, and that may move into Hot Spring. Not showing any imminent signs of rotating. That's
Right.
something.
Yeah, I think so. There is probably a little more instability, a little more heat down in that part of the state. But for now, that's kind of that trailing edge. But it is out by itself. And I don't think the National Weather Service, let's see if we got any other reports. Pea-sized hail in Damascus. That was 4 minutes ago. So not. Yeah, and then the fire department saying the power line down East Main and Henderson Street in Greenbrier. Those are the reports that we're getting. And multiple trees down at Toadsuck in Perry County, just on the Perry-Faulkner County side. So as we were talking about, as those storms went through, it came out of Perry County. Certainly they had some wind with them, and that's why we continue to watch this, because there are areas of wind, I think, all the way from east of Greenbrier. And then certainly this area right here has a couple of little bowed out features, and this is Pulaski County. So right there is far western Pulaski County, coming into that area around Lake Maumelle. Some of the ridge tops there could be experiencing very high winds. Whether they're capable of producing tree damage, pushing trees down, we don't know that for sure, but it has happened up in the Greenbrier areas, power lines down there, and back into Perryville a little bit earlier, multiple trees down. So we're going to assume that these have at least an isolated potential for doing that as it moves toward the Little Rock area. 50 miles per hour, it's going to take a little while to get here, but West Little Rock out into the Ferndale area, it's not going to be long before it makes it there. And this is that round one that we're talking about. As we back out, the storm northwest of Arkadelphia, west of Lake DeGray. Yeah, still strong. Not warned right now. I'm sure the National Weather Service is watching it, but we're looking at, it's rather strong storm. It's got some hail potential with it, and it certainly has the potential to kind of be out by itself and ingest a lot of that more unstable air. It doesn't have to compete with a line of storms there. It's just kind of at the southern end of this line. National Weather Service hasn't said anything more about these storms that are here, but just kind of giving us an idea that there has been some wind. Looks like torrential rain up in Faulkner County, and that warning has been extended on out. Faulkner County just over into White County, and far northwest Lonoke County. It looks like Cabot almost, not quite, in that new warning out there, but it does include Valonia and almost up to Beebe. So it's just this whole line, really. if they were to reconfigure it, they would just make one broad area given all of the things that are going on there. And not everybody will have strong or damaging winds. But there'll be pockets, I think, within that we're going to have to watch for that. And those little areas that bow out. And there's one right there south of Perrin. Yeah, this is going to be a rather active night. Now, this is the line of storms that, or the area, the big system coming through, an impulse that will then move the rain out, and it will start pulling in some drier or some colder air back behind it. And you'll notice it tomorrow as temperatures start to go down pretty rapidly, starting out in the mid to upper 50s, and then they'll start to tumble throughout the day. And I think we'll be down below freezing perhaps tomorrow evening. A little bit of a rebound on Saturday before that snow potential. And everybody's saying, hey, should I send my kids back to university, to wherever they're going? Maybe I should get them out of here before the snow starts. I think it's a valid thing. You probably want to get them going by Sunday morning if they're going to be traveling by car anywhere around this region. Tonight, though, this is what introduces all of it, a line of storms. We see that sometimes in the wintertime here where we have tornado watch, we have strong thunderstorms, and then we have a snow potential all within about 12 hours of one another. It's definitely introducing some bitter, bitter cold air coming up. But there are 3 severe thunderstorm warnings there, and we're watching that storm down around Gray Lake. And yeah, there's going to be some potential for hail, I think, along with this possibility of severe hail. It's certainly there, and some out east of Greenbrier, but the biggest hail threat right there, north of Owensville. So that would be Highway 9, and then along the Highway 10 corridor there. Some hail starting to move into that area to the south of Lake Maumelle. Hail size, yeah, perhaps maybe coming up on an inch in diameter, but this looks a little bit larger here as that moves over toward County Line Road and Ferndale. So watch if you're in that area for the potential, at least briefly, for some hail. It may not be that large when it makes it to the ground, but it's a possibility anyway. So that's just one of the components we're looking at. We're looking for areas of rotation. Doesn't look all that likely. We look at the wind field. Now, this looks like wind to me more so than anything else. James, you agree?
Yeah, I think so, and I expect that to continue as these storms are going to be pretty robust as they move off towards the northeast, really from Heber Springs all the way down into Saline County. That entire line segment is severe warned right now, and I think it's going to stay severe warned for quite some time. I don't think these are going to weaken anytime soon. So the line is moving 50 to 60 miles per hour, and so it's going to race off towards the northeast. Down the line here, this is going to impact White County, Lonoke County, eventually getting into Prairie, Woodruff, and Jackson counties as well if these things hold together. And I just experienced this here, but as you were saying, there was some small hail falling to the ground here in Faulkner County. And I expect that as this line segment moves into Pulaski County, you are gonna hear more small hail pelting the rooftop. I don't think a lot of this is severe hail. I've seen a lot of reports of smaller hail, along with the wind. That's certainly a good thing that the hail is on the smaller side, but there's quite a bit of hail headed within.
Right. Yeah, I think you're right. I think a lot of Peat marble size hail will be seen within those areas, and maybe not that severe hail, which would be an inch in diameter. If we could take a look out to the west, I think we have a camera pointed out to the west, and it is quite a light show. Okay, we might not be able to. I'll see if I can get some cameras up there, but if you look out to the west, you're going to see a lot of lightning along with this, as you might imagine, all coming into the area. Well, it's certainly not producing wind damage everywhere. We've had 2 spots, Toadsuck. We've had a spot in Perryville. Oh, and we've had one more in Greenbrier and around Harrisbrake Lake. So some of these are starting to come in. Multiple trees blown down. Perryville, a tree blown down, I believe. Multiple trees down near Toadsuck. And in Greenbrier, some power lines down as this area went through. So it is a wind producer, and it stretches all the way from Saline County on up into, looks like probably into Cleburne County as well, as we, moves up into the Heber Springs area, and all of those are severe thunderstorm warned and not tornado warned. And then we're watching that storm in the, it's in the northern part of Clark County, it appears. No, that would be Hot Spring County, western Hot Spring County, out to the west of Malvern, kind of moving that way. So, folks in Malvern, just be aware there's a strong storm out there, but it doesn't appear that it is has reached severe limits, or it doesn't look like a big wind producer yet. All right, do we have that camera? We can, if you look at it there, I'm just going to back off. Yeah, wow, that is headed our way. Yeah, starting to hear some lightning, or some thunder, along with that big lightning show as we look off to the west from the top of Simmons Bank Tower here in the Little Rock area. Wow. Yeah, that is a big light show right there. Okay. So here it comes. It's the tail end of this, I don't think looks quite as bad as it did. And hopefully we get these starting to not be quite as prolific a wind producer, but there's certainly some wind that will be coming into that area. Again, County Line Road, out on Colonel Glenn, Ferndale Cutoff, western Pulaski County. There's going to be some wind along with those. Stretching up into Faulkner County. Very hard to get a tornado going, I think, with the temperature that is outside. We just don't have the kind of humidity values, the heat necessary for that surface-based, what we call surface-based storms, where you can get air rising all the way from the surface. These are more what we call elevated. They're rising rapidly from a point up above, but they're not really surface-based, so it's hard to get a tornado going in this environment. That's really good news, but it's certainly not impossible. So we continue to watch this leading edge for any sign of rotation. And then we're going to watch this southwestern part of the state where there is some more instability. And that's on down to the southwest. All right, we have several severe thunderstorm warnings, and they will be moving on in as we head into Mayflower and on into the Pulaski County area, West Little Rock, and points there. As they move toward Little Rock, we're gonna stay with this, really coming into kind of we've been on it for a while now. Only one tornado warning, and that was very brief. We didn't think it would last very long, but we're just going to watch it as it kind of comes into the Little Rock area. And if it looks like it starts to weaken some, we'll send you back to programming. But for right now, hey, it's 11:23 at night, so let's just hang out together. James put it very well, if you have a west-facing window, you have maybe a bedroom there, you have tall trees out there, you might want to just think about abandoning that room for just a little while, just as the front comes in. Not saying there's going to be damaging winds, but there could be a few in favored spots. There could be some little pockets of wind. By and large, there won't be, but occasionally there could be. And it's moving on into Pulaski County right now, approaching kind of the western neighborhoods of Little Rock, out into Pulaski County area, Mayflower up to Valonia. Right now, Valonia, you're getting a line moving all the way in to Rosebud up to the north. And that area is bowed out as well. Any rotation along it? Not a bit that I see. Yeah, kind of a smoother line right there. Probability of hail, some around Rosebud. The one that really is the hail producer is the one that's out there around Ferndale. And I think that could be the hail core that produces some maybe 1 inch in diameter hail. It's showing a little bit more than that, but we haven't had that many reports. Even if it says that the hail size is estimated to be an inch or inch plus, we haven't really seen confirmation of that. But this one says 1.62 inches, and so that even if it melted some by the time it got on down, I don't know that would verify inch and a half plus, but I think there's a hail core moving into the Ferndale area right now. So that's going to be moving on in then to the Chenal neighborhoods, that core, and I'll put it into motion for you. Just go back a few frames and just show you if it still looks, the northern part of that doesn't look as bad up there around Lake Maumelle. But yeah, there's still a sizable hail threat, I believe, out around Ferndale with that storm, along with some rain, and I don't see anything in the way of rotation with it, but there is wind, and that is that dark color right there. That is the hail core, and this is an update of it. So let's go right. Yeah, there's the core as it moves right along Highway 10 all the way down to Ferndale. So right along Ferndale cutoff right now, right there, you'll see that area of hail and possible wind as well. But I think you'll probably see some confirmation of some hailstones there, moving on into the Little Rock area. Moving fairly quickly, it's made it in to the Little Rock Metro, James, and we're still under a severe thunderstorm warning, at least in the western parts of the city now.
Yeah, this line segment, you've been pointing out that hail core. It's looked more impressive the quicker or the closer it's gotten to western Pulaski County. So would not surprise me to see some quarter-size hailstones reported from West Little Rock, and eventually maybe Maumelle, as that's kind of the direction it's on, and maybe the north side of North Little Rock. This line of storms moving at 50 to 60 miles per hour. I'm going to track this from northern Saline County all the way up into Cleburne County and kind of take this out towards the east northeast. That's kind of the direction it's moving. Expecting it to reach Lone Oak shortly after midnight, Bald Knob in White County just before midnight, and it's still on track to be in downtown Little Rock here in about the next 15 to 20 minutes. So, and it may actually miss the greater downtown area. This is really primarily northern Pulaski County because these are moving east, maybe east northeast. I think this is going to just barely scrape through the downtown area. And then we're watching that storm back into Hot Spring County. There's not been a whole lot of rotation with this, but it is a fairly strong storm. And I wanted to walk through kind of what we're watching as far as for tonight. Dew points are a big part of that. That's moisture. 55 is usually too cool for tornadoes, not too cool for other types of severe weather like we're seeing. But when they get closer to 60, like they are across western and southwest Arkansas, that's possibly when you could probably see. The temperatures are actually warming across much of southern Arkansas. We're at 64 in Arkadelphia, Texarkana, El Dorado. These numbers, points maybe to increase this sector across southern Arkansas. So I think this model has had it well over the hours. The activity that's over central Arkansas now will move off towards the east, northeast. And notice where the instability pocket is increasing as we go through the night over central and western Arkansas. So this line of storms that forms to the west, I think is going to have a better chance for winds down to the surface. So maybe a greater chance for damage. And then I think this will be the time where we may actually see isolated tornadoes along the line. That line may not reach the metro area till 3 to 5 a.m. By that point, pretty strong before it may begin to slowly weaken. But we're not done with this until sunrise when it gets out of eastern Arkansas and can say goodbye to this weather threat, hopefully for a good while. But that's kind of what we're expecting as we go through the overnight hours. This is kind of a long-winded event. Hopefully we get through it without much damage. We've already seen some damage in Perry County, Faulkner County, and it looks like for the most part the strongest section of this storm is going to miss downtown. It looks like it's headed just towards the north, North Little Rock, Jacksonville, and points towards the north, Maumelle, Gravel Ridge, and this is taking up into Cabot. That's where the wind and hail threat is, at least at the current time. Very a good thing it's cool outside because if it was any warmer, I think these storms would be doing a lot worse, maybe producing tornadoes and doing a lot more damage. So far, damaging wind reports, a few hail reports, and hopefully we can keep that trend going tonight. But I want everyone to know, don't turn off your warning notification later tonight because we're going to have to watch the activity that so far is starting to show signs of development in Texas and southeast Oklahoma. That second round could be pretty potent.
It could be, and I think folks are maybe wondering, James, as far as in this area, Little Rock and just northward, I mean, it's pounding rainfall. It's going to cool the atmosphere some, but from Little Rock southward, there may not be quite as much cooling involved with this. So will the storms that we have, if you have pounding rain right now for 20 minutes, does that help your severe weather threat tonight?
Yeah, I think it does.
Yeah.
And I think the boundary for severe weather will essentially set up from Mena towards the Little Rock area
Yeah.
and to the east. And so in the southern part of the state, the southern half of the state, and I would include the metro area in this
Yeah.
because that warm air may try to push a little bit further north. But, um, just you don't have to panic and you don't have to stay up all night, but you
No.
just need to have a way to get warnings because if a tornado warning is issued and one very well may be later on tonight. You just need to be able to get up, go to your safe place, and the storm's moving at 60 miles per hour. You're seeking shelter for 20 minutes or so.
I think one good thing to do if you've got your phone, you've got the KATV weather app. If you've got it downloaded, or if you don't download it real quick, it's very easy to set up, and you can set it up to notify you audibly if there's a tornado warning in your area. You can set it for anything you want: severe thunderstorm warning and tornado warning, or anything. And you can audibly have it warn you. And then, if there happens to be a tornado warning, and again, I think we're talking Little Rock southward later on tonight, then you can turn here to Channel 7 and we'll keep you updated because we're not going to be leaving tonight. Somebody will be here all night long and we'll be keeping an eye on those storms as they come in. But the models, I think, James, did very well on this because it showed as these storms kind of came into the Little Rock area that the strongest of them would then be just to the north. And you can see what's happening. That hail core out there kind of shifting north. And the trailing edge of this, there's rain certainly there, but the trailing edge is not near what it was. And when they reconfigured the warning area, they reconfigured it much farther north. So this is going to be just, the southern end is going to be brushing by kind of that northwestern part of Little Rock through Maumelle up into northern Pulaski County. But I think Little Rock, I mean, there's some spots in South Little Rock that some of this rain could eventually make its way over. But I think the storm threat is Little Rock north side and up. And so there is still some wind. There still is hail with that. We're going to keep an eye on it until this starts to die down somewhat. But the probability of any tornadoes with this, I think, is quite low, even though we're under a tornado watch. We're talking about later on. There is wind as I look at this out along the Highway 10 corridor, out around Pinnacle Mountain, up to Maumelle. There are the pockets of wind along with that. How about hail along with that? Probability of severe hail? Certainly. Yeah. Out into Ferndale and points eastward and right along Highway 10 out there. I think there's going to be some decent-sized hail, maybe up to 1/4 inch in diameter in a few of those really favored spots, east end of Lake Maumelle, and then on the south side through the Chenal neighborhoods out there. I think there's going to be some possibility of some hail as that moves on through. That does not necessarily mean that there'll be high winds with that, but I think there will be some pockets of high wind along with it as it moves on through. So that's the kind of the core, but you can see these storms that are trailing on down to the southwest, they just don't look as impressive as they did, and this whole thing is kind of shifting off to the north. So we go on up, and Valonia, now east of you into western White County. El Paso, Floyd, Center Hill will be next in line, and then eventually over to around Searcy and southeastern Cleburne County. So that segment right there, all the way down to those areas of West Little Rock, kind of out into the county, those are the areas, and they're all kind of moving off to the east-northeast. So we'll continue to watch this. I think they're going to hold together. I just don't think that this is going to be something that continues to get worse just down to the south of town. We're going to wait on those storms out of southeastern Oklahoma for that. Obviously, Malvern, we're watching that one storm out to the west of you. It's not considered severe right now, but it has some weight to it. It's a rather strong one. It's just that the ones from Little Rock northward are a little more likely, I think, to produce some wind. Power outages now. I'm just going to try to get the latest on that. 12,500. They've really gone up. And they're in this area right here. We're talking about places, and I'll just read them out to you. Conway County, 793, 331 in Faulkner County. So more in Conway County than in Faulkner County, even though we had some strong winds and we had some power lines down in Greenbrier. And that may be where we saw those power outages. Perry County, 241 without, 2,800 without power in Garland County. 2,800. That's quite a few. And I think that was from earlier when those storms were a little bit stronger, kind of out between Highway 70 and 270. Out there, we had that hail core, and those storms don't look as strong now. But 2,800 without power could be lightning, could be a big transformer that was blown by lightning. Could be some wind, but we haven't had any reports of trees down there. So that might be a lightning-induced type of power outage. All right, we're looking at storm scan, and it's all the way from south of Heber Springs through White County, not quite to the Searcy area now, east of Valonia, and then back down into the western parts of Pulaski County. And that area from east of Mayflower down through Maumelle right now. Still a hail threat along with that. I think the possibility of severe hail really kind of peaks out as we are in Maumelle. So right there in Maumelle and just on the other side of the river, east, Pinnacle Mountain State Park and up to Maumelle, right along the river. Those, I'll go back a few frames and you'll see kind of the direction of movement. Yeah.
Just received a video from a viewer of hail. It looked like there were some quarter-sized stones falling at a rapid rate in Chenal. A lot of small hailstones, though, as well. It looks like a lot of pea-sized hail is falling very quickly, and that just moved through on the other side of Chenal Mountain off of Highway 10. So that's what just moved through, and that's what's headed towards Maumelle. It looked like a lot of small hail, and hopefully it stays that way. Hopefully it's not as big as a quarter-size, but it does look like there's some quarter-sized stones on the ground. That's going to be uploaded to chime in here shortly. But I just checked the Conway Corp website, which is the electric provider here in Conway. They are not reporting any outages here at this time. I know there's some power outages up towards Greenbrier, but at least for Conway, after that storm came through, they are not reporting any outages right now.
All right, and we're getting other reports, other notifications from out into the western part of Pulaski County of dime-sized hail, so not quite that inch in diameter. But so this is verifying. This hail core is verifying. There's I-40, there's I-430, and moving through the Maumelle area there, it would be surprising if you didn't have. I don't think this core looks quite as strong as it was on out just a little farther west. It's kind of moving off to the east-northeast. But yeah, we're getting some more reports. Here's some more video that I'm seeing from out in western Pulaski County of quite a bit of smaller, up to half-inch in diameter hail, but quite a bit of it pouring out of that storm. And pouring rain as well. The wind threat, I haven't had any reports of anybody saying we had wind along with it that was severe in nature. So that's some good news. But hail in Chenal from a viewer there. And okay. Large hail. There's a lot of hail going on up in northwest Arkansas, it appears, as well. But we're going to continue to watch this storm as it moves on in. That's just the hail part of it. Is there wind along with it? Yeah, there's some pockets of, I think, decent wind right there in the Maumelle area, too. So quite a storm for you in Maumelle. And then moving on up to the north, it'll be approaching the Searcy area as well. So that's the boat-out feature. Boy, I tell you, the models did an excellent job showing that area as it approached central Arkansas, really lifting off to the north. I mean, this was several hours ago that it showed this very thing happening. Still watching that storm down to the west of Malvern, James. A little more instability down there.
Yeah, we'll be watching that, Barry. I wanted to point out what you were just saying. I mean, look at the model data where it's initialized for 11:30 p.m. It's got that strip of storms right west of Little Rock, right to the north of Little Rock, and then it moves them off towards the northeast over the next couple of hours. Now, what I've got overlaid on here is instability, and these storms, we've been saying, don't have a whole lot to work with. There's not a lot of warmth and humidity, and so that's why we're probably not seeing the severe weather that we would otherwise be seeing. Well, this yellow shading right here is the instability that's growing and will increase in advance of our next storms that come out of Oklahoma and Texas late in the night. So you get to 1 and 2 a.m., and I think we're seeing a line of storms move into western and southwest Arkansas as we get to deep in the night. And I think these storms might actually, it's pretty rare to see instability increase like this late in the night, these storms might actually have a better chance of damaging winds and some isolated tornadoes. So from about midnight to, or I say 1 a.m. till about 6 a.m., we're going to have to watch this line across the state. And the current timing for this line to get to the metro area is going to be sometime between 3 and 5 a.m. It's going to cross from west to east. I do think high winds are going to be a very good bet with that before clears out towards the east. And then we're going to get a whole lot colder, Barry. But model data picking up on that very well. And unfortunately, that is not a good trend for late in the night. Nobody wants to deal with high winds or severe weather late in the night. But that's what we're going to have to watch the rest of tonight.
I agree. I think that's the area of concern, and it'll be primarily from Little Rock down to the south, and that's coming in a little later. Still, just watching that storm between Hot Springs and Malvern, and we're getting more video now confirming that hail core is indeed getting some hail to the ground of size, and I think there's marginally severe hail that I'm seeing in Maumelle. Yeah, some chunks, it looks like to me, that exceed 1 inch in diameter there as it moves in. So let's go back to that area. You can always notify us. I'm at KATV Barry on the X platform. And possibility of hail. Well, now look at this. This is the probability of severe hail, and look how that area has collapsed over the last few frames. Let me just go back in time here, just a few. Look at this. I don't know if it's getting closer to the radar site. That may have something to do with it, but boy, it doesn't look like near the hail core that it had as it moves off to the northeast of Maumelle. Wind-wise, there's still some wind with it. It's as it moves across I-40. That is a severe thunderstorm warmed area, and that has been now extended out to Jacksonville, Cabot, and over into Lonoke County. And they're going to keep severe thunderstorm warnings along this line. They'll continue to be extended out, at least if it looks like there is some wind potential. The hail potential, certainly with this southernmost storm, which is around Maumelle, moving over into the north and northwestern part of Pulaski County. There's Valonia off to the east, headed over toward Beebe, Searcy as well. Some wind, and I would imagine some small hail in there as well. And then all the way up into Independence County, we have severe thunderstorm warnings. These will go on for a while. Doesn't mean that there's going to be a lot of damage with this. If you happen to get in one of those cores where there's some sizable hail, that could be a damage producer. Right now, though, I haven't seen any other wind reports. I'm only seeing those hail reports out of this. So wind, yeah, I think there are pockets of wind along it, but for right now, I'm not seeing a lot of those, and I continue to look. Yeah, a lot of people sending in videos now of just hail just dumping, but about dime-sized hail.
I've got another picture of quarter-sized hail from Maumelle. Maybe a little bigger than quarter-sized hail.
Okay, yeah, there were, I think, some of those chunks that I saw from Maumelle exceeded 1 inch in diameter, and the radar was estimating 1.7 or so, you know, it was doing a pretty good job, I think. Here's where it is right now, the hail core, what's left of it, and it continues to roll on there on the east side of Maumelle, so the Morgan exit and off to the east there. And then it will be headed over into Camp Robinson and then over toward Cato area. Those are our severe thunderstorm warnings, and they extend all the way up to the northeast. Any place else along there with a big hail threat, it doesn't appear right now. Rotation-wise, don't see anything of note at all there.
So, Barry, we're getting a new severe thunderstorm warning for that storm that is down in southwest Arkansas. I'm not southwest Arkansas, but down to the southwest of Little Rock.
Yeah, the one coming in on Malvern.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. All right, we're going to watch that one then. And yeah, that's the one that's kind of there into that instability.
Yeah, it's a little bit more by itself. I think as of right now, They're saying quarter-size hail could be falling from this one. So this is going to approach the I-30 corridor, and this is going to approach at just to the north of Rockport and Malvern, over towards Benton, Bryant, Haskell. And this could track up into the southern side of the Little Rock area. Just looking at the observations at Adams Field, the temperature at the airport is quite a bit warmer than it is off towards the north where it's been raining. It's 63 degrees at the Little Rock Airport, Barry, but the dew point is still 55 degrees. So maybe tough to get a tornado as it approaches the airport, but not impossible. There is just maybe a bit of weak rotation with that, but I think the concern right now maybe the hail and wind threat with this more classic-looking structure. I think this storm is growing also, so the hail size indicator saying marble size hail, it may actually end up being larger than that as it approaches areas towards the northeast. I think this is going to produce quarter size hail. So Saline County, the southern sections of Saline County, has mostly avoided all this.